KDKR's daily programming do not necessarily reflect the views of the management or staff.
Prudent Money with Bob Brooks is sponsored by the Prudent Money Foundation on 91.3.
Well, are things about to fall apart? Today we're going to take a look. Stay tuned to Prudent Money. Good afternoon and welcome to the Prudent Money Radio Show. I'm your host, Bob Brooks. Thank you so much for joining me today. You know I do appreciate it. Well, I'm not taking calls today, and if you do have a question for me, I want to invite you to go to the website at www.prudentmoney.com. Send the question into the Ask Bob section, and I will get you taken care of. That's all at the website, www.prudentmoney.com. Well, you've seen, surely you've seen, because I see them all the time, the alarming emails that end up in your inbox. And, you know, it's one of these things where you're might be having a great day, you're working, getting things taken care of, then you decide to go check your inbox, and then there it is. And it's this desperate email from someone who's supposed to be an expert, predicting that you're going to lose your job, you're going to lose your 401k, and everything is going to drastically change in America. I must be on every email list that there is because I get these all of the time. There's only certain ones of them that I pay attention to because there's certain. It's interesting. You can take it and you can kind of categorize it into the truly effective emails, which means the ones that get your attention, or emails you just automatically delete. You don't even think twice about looking at it. And it's those ones that get your attention that generally end up with responses from you through the Ask Bob saying, is this true? Do we have something to worry about? I mean, you know, think about it. You're going through your day, you open up that email, and it's done expertly to catch your attention. And these marketers know exactly what to put down. And it catches your attention. You reluctantly dive into it. It seems credible. And that's always the $100 million question. Is it a credible email or not? Is it a credible warning? And that starts to dictate your mood, starts to dictate, well, am I doing the right thing with my 401k? And then there's that feeling of panic or fear that maybe just temporarily or maybe it lasts a little bit longer as you continue to get these emails. And it really creates a problem because if you continue to get these emails and you continue to get these messages, then maybe you end up making an emotional decision. Now, we've talked about this many times in the program. Emotional decision making ends up being a disaster in most cases. So you always want to be able to step 2 feet back and make a decision based on a lot of facts, not just your emotions. Well, welcome to what I call the gloom and doomer, or the gloom and doomer industry. And these emails will go viral. And what I wanted to do today was point out a few things about these so that you can interpret what you're reading and put it into the proper context. And here's something, when it comes down to money, and it comes down to results, it comes down to recommendations, at the end of the day, the person who's going to be successful, who's going to be the best steward of what God has given them, is going to be the one who is good at interpreting what they're reading. We're all good at reading something and an emotion will stir up. But it's interpreting what we are reading and whether or not we need to, whether or not what we're reading is credible, whether or not we need to take a look at some things, maybe whether we need to make some choices. What I've got a problem with are these marketing emails that are just fear-mongering. So what they do is they paint the most desperate picture, and then and of course throughout the entire, and these are generally videos, and the videos are very, very long. I mean, I am hard pressed to sit through an hour to an hour and a half of a video. And this is the especially the dangerous thing about these emails is that they're believable. You know, I always said that if you look, I call it the spectrum of events. There's a whole spectrum of events that could happen. If you start at the very far to the left, there's the spectrum of events that are low probability that could happen, all the way up to high probability events that could happen. And everything's believable today. The dollar crashing, very believable. Digital dollars, very believable. Probably more than believable, probably going to be an inevitable transition at some point. I mean, you could go on and on and on and on. I'll give you a good one. Confiscation of your 401k plan. Now, I would give that a 2 to 5% probability of ever happening, but it's still a probability, and it's still something out there that you can choose to worry about. But here's the thing with these types of emails is that if I wanted to produce an email like this and produce a video, I could easily come up with a scenario that's believable. I could make a prediction. I could make a forecast. I could build my credibility somehow or another. And then if it never took place, nobody's going to really remember. Nobody's going to remember that 7 or 8 months ago I predicted this to happen. Probably not. But if I am right, then all of a sudden I am a self-proclaimed guru. Now, in the marketing world, that is gold. But the reason I'm even talking about all of this is because of a gentleman named Porter Stansberry. I've written about Porter Stansberry in years and years and years ago, probably 10, 15 years ago, and his marketing tactics. Make no doubt about it, Porter Stansberry is the king of gloom and doom marketing. Now, there is some congratulations about saying that, and there's some things that aren't so good about saying that. Yeah, he's a talented, very, very gifted marketer. And he uses a lot of his marketing to stir up fear, to tell you that he's got the solution, and to encourage you to buy his newsletter subscription that's going to solve all your problems. And that kind of sums it up in just a few words. He started back in the late 2000s, one of the first gloom and doom marketing campaigns. And he called it the end of America. Now this was, I don't know how much money he put behind this, but it was viral. It went everywhere. Now keep in mind, this was after the financial collapse and the takeover by the government of so much of the corporate entities and everyday aspects of life, where they basically bought everything out. And so we saw for the very first time an aggressive government We saw the fact that the financial system could collapse. We witnessed all this. We witnessed the stock market dropping 55%. I mean, it was, if you recall, between 2007 and 2009, it was a pretty gloom and doom actual reality. Well, as we got out of that situation, starting at the bottom of 2009, this is when it was easy to look back and go, well, this has happened, this is going to happen in the future, and this is when the gloom and doom marketing genius of Porter Stansberry started. So what he would do is he would start with, and it's endofamerica.com, I think was the actual website, and he would go on and predict something, and he would actually pick a date that this thing he was predicting was supposed to happen. And remember, all this is designed to create fear, to motivate you to buy his newsletter. I think he had like 77,000 views of his viral video. That's how effective he was. I mean, people were spending 90 minutes watching this. I mean, that's pretty effective. And I don't know what his very first marketing campaign was when he first started out in the business. It wasn't too far before that, but he started out in the business with $36,000 to his name, and now he's worth over $3 billion. He would tell you it's because of his stock picking and his newsletter. I would suggest it's his genius marketing ideas that have done it. But the reality is he's back and he's mainstream again, and he is loading up the videos to tell you about something bad that's going to happen. I want to talk about it. We are up against a break, so stick around. I will be right back.
The Word for Today is excited to announce the new official online home for the ministry of Pastor Chuck Smith and K. Smith, pastorchuck.org. At pastorchuck.org, you'll have instant access to thousands of hours of verse-by-verse teaching by Pastor Chuck Smith from Genesis through Revelation, and full access to special messages on subjects such as prophecy and much, much more. Also at pastorchuck.org, a full library of great teachings by K. Smith, and a section where you can read some of Pastor Chuck's books online, all free of charge. So visit the new official online home of the Word for Today and the ministry of Pastor Chuck and K. Smith, pastorchuck.org.
Hi, I'm Jill Taylor, inviting you to join me each Saturday morning at 11 o'clock for Choose Life Radio. You'll hear people from across America sharing their stories of faith, forgiveness, redemption, and restoration. Choose Life Radio will encourage you to fully appreciate the gift of life. You may also find help for you or a friend in need. So please join me Saturday mornings at 11 o'clock right here on Bible School Radio 91.3.
Hi, this is Bob Brooks, host of the Prudent Money Radio Show. You know, marriage and money can be a toxic combination. The best way to avoid arguments over money is to practice this principle: show grace unless you are perfect. We all make financial mistakes. Treat your spouse with grace and love versus making them wrong and yourself right. Listen to the Prudent Money Radio Show on Bible School Radio 91.3. Prudent Money, the home of the modern-day steward movement. Welcome back. This is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. Thank you so much for joining me today. You know I do appreciate it. We're talking about gloom and doom marketing, what you should believe, what you should act on, where you should be careful in what you read and what gets those emotions stirred up to make decisions. Almost a high percentage of the time, emotional decision making does not end up well. So I'm not taking calls today. I will take your questions at prudentmoney.com. So go there, go to the Ask Bob section, send it in, and I will get you taken care of. So here's the deal with what was really interesting to me, that this was effective. He would send out a viral video predicting something that was going to happen that would be the end of America. and he predicts a certain date that this is going to happen on. So the date comes and goes, nothing happens. He literally shuts down the website, starts up a new website called something else, and starts a new viral campaign, and he does the same thing again. And the new campaign has a date, nothing happens. He literally goes through this process over and over and over again. I cannot find any evidence of this on the internet. I mean, he has scrubbed this completely off of the internet. But this is kind of the thing he does. So you got to look at it and go, where's really the credibility in that? But he is back and he is convincing, and I made myself listen to most of his video, and it's very compelling. And here's the email that really pulls you in. He says, "Dear reader, Porter Stansberry is back. For years he's been sitting on the sidelines. After selling his business, Stansberry Research, he retired to his 100-acre farm in Maryland and hasn't appeared on camera since. But now he's back with a shocking new warning. A warning with such severe consequences for all U.S. citizens that it almost single-handedly dragged him out of retirement. While the virus panic and the lockdowns don't surprise me," this is him speaking, "I'd be expecting that debacle for almost a decade. When I learned what these two men were plotting to do, I knew I had to go back to work." He says his story is far bigger, far more important, and far more controversial than anything he's ever done. It could result in tens of millions of Americans being wiped out financially. Your 401k, stock portfolio, crypto, cash, bonds, it's all at risk. And that's the same warning almost every time. Wipe out your 401k plans, lose your job, change the course of America. Same rhetoric. Yet nobody else is warning you of what's coming, except for the other gloom and doom marketing emails. Or showing you how to protect yourself, which he is happy to do for $99.99 a year. Or if you buy it today, $49.99. I guess that's what it was once upon a time. I don't know if it's the same today. Or showing you how to protect yourself, your family, and your finances from the catastrophic barreling down on America, or the catastrophes barreling down. I can't read this morning. Down on America. Porter says he refuses to stay silent, though. He spent months investigating this coming crisis and put all his findings into a new documentary that reveals exactly what's about to happen. Right now, for a limited time only, you can watch his new documentary at no cost. Just click here and it'll start streaming. That's the funniest thing about it. A limited time. This will be on there as long as it's effective. He didn't date anything, so it should be here for a long time. In fact, I think he's kind of starting over, because when he started over with the firstendofamerica.com, I don't think he put a date on it. And it makes sense to me, because you run the first email, you get as many millions of people that you can to sign up. Then you go for a 2 to 3 month time period where you predict a date. That doesn't happen. You go to another 2 or 3 time period to predict a date. That doesn't happen, but you're catching up with new subscribers. And by the way, if you go to his website, there is nothing on it that talks about this catastrophe that's coming our way or anything about it. So he says in his video he will receive blowback for publishing this content and exposing the truth. He says that people will say things about him. People will try to smear him because he's dealing with them. He's dealing with powerful people. In fact, he goes. He talks about there was back in 2013, the SEC, Securities Exchange Commission, and they are the regulator of investments, brought a case against the company for securities fraud. His company, which led a federal judge fining him $1.5 million. He fought this thing for years, and a judge finally ruled against him. And of course, he's got that. It's all over the internet. So this is, the smear campaign he's talking about. And then, of course, this one I just found out about. I hadn't seen this one. Supposedly, a high financier, best friend of his, went into business with him, and something happened to him. He disappeared. They found him dead. And the big Netflix documentary that pointed to Porter Stansberry having something to do with it. I'm not for sure. And then Stansberry won't comment or say anything about it. Really weird stuff. So, if you're messing with powerful people, you can take everything that you've done or haven't done and categorize it under this. It's a smear campaign. They're trying to ruin my name. Well, these two powerful people are Larry Fink, who you probably never heard of. He's CEO of BlackRock, and Michael Bloomberg, which you probably have heard. Now, these are the two men who are going to destroy America. That this is what this whole thing is about. And there's a lot of as you go through and you listen to their intentions and what they want to do, it's probably true, because in the name of power, there's a lot of people who would love to see America turn a different course. That's no big surprise. Now, if you go on the internet and you search Michael Bloomberg and you search Larry Fink and you search Porter Stansberry, you come out with one tweet that's from somebody that says Porter Stansberry is going after these two guys. Nothing from Larry Fink's camp, nothing from Michael Bloomberg's camp, no about Porter Stansberry. So I find that odd, of course. And it's just really interesting. Now, could it happen? And let me take a step back and talk from his standpoint. And think of it from this standpoint, that you want to use this as a way to make decisions about what you do, what resources you follow, and the steps that you take. And, could it happen? I would suggest it's a very low probability percentage of chance of happening. And he, of course, could come up with the information that would suggest otherwise. Now, if you look at his track record, it shows a track record of marketing, and it's still, with what he's doing today, doesn't add up. So I'll leave that to you to make your own determination of whether you agree or not. Just my opinion. I could be wrong. But like I said, there are many people who want to see America change course. Go from capitalism to socialism. Go to government control to where we are today, which is really kind of government control. But government control worse, 2.0 worse than it is today. The bottom line is simply this. Know your risk, and if you're not at peace with your risk that you're taking, create your ideal risk level and follow that new risk level until you feel that you need to change it again. Keep an eye on your own stewardship. Pray about resources. Pray about what God sends into your life. Pray that God will send resources into your life and that you'll have peace about them. And make your decisions going forward. We take all the noise, the predictions, the fear-mongering, put it aside and realize that, it just really comes all back down to stewardship. And that relationship that you have with God and that relationship that we all have with money, and that prioritization is not out of line. Matthew 6:24 being the voice in the verse of stewardship, that Christ comes out and says, hey, you're going to struggle with money. Money's going to be a god in your life. But I am the proper way to prioritize it is that I'm going to be God of your life, and money's not going to be on or near the throne of your life. And I love that verse because Christ could have said anything in that verse. He could have called out anything, and he called out that money was going to be your biggest temptation for God of your life. So that's really the message that it comes down to. But I wanted to take some time today to point this out because he's back. These emails are going to be rampant. They're going to be all over the place. And here we go again. And the marketing machine is turned on. See it for yourself. Make it your own determination. I definitely reserve the right to be wrong. I'm just looking for consistency, and I see it. Hey, this is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. If you've got a question for me, please go to the website at prudentmoney.com and send it in because we are all out of time. Till we do meet again next time, keep the faith and have a great rest of the day.
That's all the time we have for today. Questions or comments for Bob, or to find out more great information like what you've just heard, visit www.prudentmoney.com. Be sure to join Bob Brooks again for the next edition of Prudent Money.